our lab today. First of all, we said that we will undergo the gross inspection of the brain. We'll identify if there is a gross pathology from the outside. There are no hemorrhages. The arachnoid matter is translucent. There are no opacity. There is no opacity of meningitis or something like that. Okay. There are no mass-forming lesions. There are no hemorrhages. There is no brain loss. The cyan gyri are coapted. There is no brain edema. There is no flattening of the sulcine gyri, so there is no edema by the gross inspection. There is no widening of the sulcine gyri that is seen in the neurodegenerative diseases. Okay, so there is no pathologically like that. There is no gross pathology that I can appreciate from the external examination of these brains. This is a brain that is totally distorted, but we can still reconstruct it and undergo our autopsy here. Here we can see what I told you, the granular opacities of the arachnoid granulation. Okay, here again we can appreciate the granular opacities of the arachnoid granulations, but it's not the opacity of meningitis. These are the granularity, the whitish granularity of the arachnoid granulations that absorb the cerebrospinal fluid. Here again, this brain is more congested. You can appreciate this. This is more congested than this. This is pale. Okay, this is more. These brains are more congested. Okay. In a lesion like this, I should take a sample from here and here. Maybe there is minute microhemorrhages here. Okay. Okay. So this is the first step, the gross inspection. The second step is to weigh the brain. It's 451 kilograms. Okay. The second step is to take my measurements. I always take 3 dimensions. Okay. I will take the dimensions of the cerebral cortex. To be precise, I should begin from the 0. Okay. I put this perpendicular like this. Okay. It's here from 0 to 10.8. (10.2). 4.7. Okay. In a human brain, I need to know the measures of the human brain. What's the weight of a adult human brain, adult male brain?
1,300.
Okay. Okay. 1,250 to 1,450 for the male. 1,250 female. The range is from 1,250 to 1,450. This is the range from a female to male, and according to the personal variations. Okay, the dimensions, it's around 14 multiply 12 or 13 multiply 8 or something like that. Okay, so there is a big difference in the mass of the human brain owing to the developed cortex and not the internal structures. Okay. The length of the brainstem it's 6.4. The brainstem of a human is also around 6.5. Okay, so the brainstem is nearly similar in length. Okay. The cerebellum, 6 multiply 4, multiply 4, 6 multiply 4 multiply 4. Okay, in a human it's also around 6 multiply 4 and a half multiply 4. There are no big differences. This is the base of the brain, where our first step will be what will separate the brainstem at the level of the midbrain. Okay? In a human, it will be more or less like this. Okay? This is distorted, but this is a human brain will be more or less perpendicular like this. Okay? So we can take the cut perpendicular to the brainstem. Here in a cow, I will take it like that. Okay? This is more or less like the human brain. Okay? Because it's distorted, not because this is a cow's brain. Okay? Here it's distorted, but it's very similar to what we will find in a cow's brain, in a human brain. We will cut it transversely like this. In our cow's brains here, we take the cut straight. Okay, here we will take our cut straight. Okay, I prefer to use this. Okay, the cut will be like this. This is the more similar to a human brain. Here we find the cerebral peduncles. This is the aqueduct of Sylvius. Okay. Here's the frontal. These are the olfactory tract. Okay. Here is the optic chiasma. Okay. We can find the mammillary bodies here. You can palpate it also. So this group can palpate it here. Here are the mammillary bodies. You can show your colleagues. Okay, here are the mammillary bodies. You can palpate it. Okay. No. Okay. This is the level of the most important cut. At this level, we will find the hippocampus, the basal ganglia, the watershed areas 1 and 2. Okay. Can we revise our 4 main cuts? There will be at the level of the temporal tips, the optic chiasma, and the mammillary bodies, and 2/3 the way between the interpeduncular fossa and the aqueduct of Sylvius. Okay, these are very close here in a cow's brain. It's not like a human brain will be widely separated, and between every level and the other there will be 2 to 3 cuts. Okay, our first cut will be at the level of the temporal tips. We will find it nearly at the level of optic chiasm. Okay. If it's a human brain and I took my first cut here, okay, I will find the tips of the lateral ventricles, but here I find the basal ganglia. Okay, because the frontal cortex is not developed. Okay, I can take serial cuts 1 centimeter apart. So also I find the basal ganglia. can see the basal ganglia here. Okay, in the second cut, because the frontal cortex is not developed in the cow's brain. Okay, the second cut is at the level of the optic chiasma. Here we find also the basal ganglia. The main cut.
The spaces are the basal ganglia?
These are the basal ganglia. The third cut at the level of the mammillary bodies, I find the thalamus, and the hippocampus. Here is not fully developed. It will appear in the other cut. Here is the hippocampus. Okay, this is the thalamus, and this is the hippocampus. The hippocampus appears more here. It's here a part of it, and this is a second part. Okay, it's more evident here in this level. Here is the hippocampus. Okay, so you can differentiate between this and the human at the level of the temporal tip. Okay, I found the basal ganglia fully developed, or most of the basal ganglia at its middle, and when I took my cuts to the frontal lobe, I find the basal ganglia even evident in my second cut. Okay, which is different from human's brain.
These spaces are the basal ganglia or what?
This is the basal ganglia. The gray matter inside the white matter is the basal ganglia. Okay. Okay. This is the hippocampus. It's more posterior because the cortex is less well developed. Okay. Okay. So in the human brain, we will take our first cut at the level of the temporal tips, where we will find the tips of the lateral ventricles, but in a cow we will find the basal ganglia. The second cut is at the optic chiasma. The third cut is at the level of the mammillary bodies, where I can find most of the structures I need in a human autopsy. But here in a cows, I found only the thalamus, the mammillary body, and the hippocampus is not fully present here. It's present in the serial, the more posterior serials. Okay, the three posterior serials, I find it better. Okay, this is the thalamus. This is the hippocampus. Okay, are there any structures that you don't know here? You can identify all the structures. You can identify the lateral ventricles here. These are the lateral ventricles here. Okay. Here are the lateral ventricles. Okay. Here are the lateral ventricles. Okay. Plus, this is the midbrain. This is the midbrain, the pons, the medulla. The main cut here in the brainstem will be at the level of the pons, okay, at the level of the middle cerebellar peduncle. Because at this cut, I can find the middle cerebellar peduncle. This is the white matter. It's very similar to the corpus callosum. In the cases of the diffuse axonal injury, it's very important. Okay. This is the pons. This is the middle cerebellar peduncle. This is the medulla. And this is the spinal cord. Okay, so we took our first cut at the level of the temporal tips. Okay, in the humans I appreciate the tips of the lateral ventricles, but here I found the basal ganglia emerging. Okay, the second cut is at the level of the optic chiasma. It's very close here in a cow's brain, but in a human brain I'll find 2 to 3 sections difference. Okay, I will take 2 to 3 serial sections between these two. Then the third cut is at the level of the mammillary body. In a human brain, I will find the basal ganglia, the thalamus, the hippocampus, okay, the head of the caudate, okay, the watershed area 1 and 2. But here, I'll find only the thalamus, okay. The basal ganglia is more to the front, okay. Then the level of the more posterior cuts will reveal the hippocampus. The hippocampus in a cow is bigger. It's nearly surrounding. It's circular, surrounding the hypothalamus. Okay, the thalamus. Okay, but in a human brain, it's very small. It's a very small area here, medial to the temporal lobe. In a fully developed human cortex, because of the flexures, the fully developed cortex, it will be internalized into the medial side of the temporal lobe. Here there are less flexures, so the hippocampus is surrounding the thalamus. Okay. Then the midbrain. These structures are very similar to human brain because we said that the internal structure or central structures in a cow's brain, these areas supporting the life, okay, and only life and movement will be similar human to a cow's brain we are all living. But the cerebral cortex of the higher function is less developed in a cow's brain. Okay. The second step, we will take the samples. We will take the samples from the routine samples that a neuropathologist will take to identify a cause of death in a human. A minimum of 12 samples should be taken. Okay. Sometimes I take right and left, so they are 16. Okay, but at least I shall take 12 samples from these main areas. Okay. The first is from watershed area 1. Watershed area 1 is at the this is watershed area 1, 1, 1, 1, okay, all of this. But at the level of the mammillary body, I can take 1 and 2. Okay, I can take 1 and 2 because the internal carotid system supplies the brain, the anterior 2/3 of the brain, and the posterior basilar, the posterior cerebral vessels from the basilar system supplies the posterior. Okay, but at the level, at this level of the mammillary bodies, I can appreciate the two watershed areas in a same section. Okay, so I can take watershed area 1 here, or here, or here, or here. Okay, the second watershed area, I can take it here, or at the level of the mammillary body, I can take both. Is it clear for all of you? Okay, this brain is supplied with two systems, two vascular systems, okay, the internal carotid system and the posterior cerebral from the vertebrobasilar system, okay? The anterior 2/3 are supplied by the internal carotid, which is divided into the middle cerebral and anterior cerebral, okay? The middle cerebral and anterior cerebral supplies the anterior 2/3, okay? And the base of the frontal lobe by the anterior cerebral, so the posterior cerebral supplies the posterior cortex. The watershed area is the area between the blood supply of the anterior and middle, so it's here, okay? I can take it here, okay? And between the middle and the posterior, so it's more to the posterior. I cannot take watershed area 2 from here, okay? So the level of the mammillary body, in this cut, I can take from here the supply between the anterior and middle cerebral, and at the same cut, I can take the posterior cerebral with the middle from the same cut. Otherwise, I can take here, anterior and middle cerebral from here, from the front of the brain, and take the posterior from the more posterior cuts, okay? I said that because sometimes the brains are distorted like this, okay? So I can take from here a cut for one shed area and take the other cut from here. But if it's well, it's not much distorted like those, I can take it from one cut, okay? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any structures, internal structures that you cannot identify?
I think the great nucleus and the globus pallidus.
Caudate nucleus, you cannot, yes, you cannot appreciate it here. It's difficult here. Maybe this. Okay? Okay?
Also pattern.
Yes. Okay, and this is the thalamus. Here is the midbrain. Okay? This is the thalamus and this is the midbrain. Okay? Mammillary body. This is the cut of the mammillary bodies. Here. Yes. This is the mammillary bodies. Okay? But I cannot find here there is no basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is to the anterior, okay? But in a human brain, this cut is the main cut. This is the most important cut in a human brain. Okay? It's the it's the cut that I can take most of my samples. Okay? Surely, if there is another pathology, I will take from it. Here, I can take a sample here before even cutting. I can take a sample from here to see if this is an extravasation, okay? But otherwise, these are the routine samples that I should take. Now, every one of you will take his tools and we will take the samples here, okay? Afterwards, every group will take his brain and you will undergo your autopsy, okay?